From the latest information you have, how durable does this ceasefire look?
It's holding, and there is really a serious effort that has been injected by our Egyptian colleagues. And now that things are quiet, we are hoping that this aggression stops for good, not only for a year or two. And I think now everybody is really busy to think of how can we reconstruct Gaza again. The damage has been really huge damage, and the cost of lives has been really large. We are hoping that this really a situation in which we don't go back to again.
In terms of the prospects for something substantive with these negotiations, has Egypt extended an invitation to you for some sort of summit in Cairo in the coming days?
Mr. Abbas Kamel, the chief of the Egyptian intelligence service, will be here the beginning of next week, and he will be going to Gaza. I think Egypt and Qatar, United States, Europe, Arab countries, mainly our president and all of us have been really in full coordination to bring this ceasefire to a reality. The problem is that while we do have a ceasefire in Gaza, the situation in Jerusalem continues to be very inflammatory. The incursions in the Al-Aqsa Mosque continued, as well as the threats of the cleansing, ethnic cleansing of our people in Sheikh Jarrah, and now the issue is taken to Silwan and so on. So the Jerusalem problems are still the same, while things in Gaza are quiet now.
So is there a plan for a peace summit in Cairo where maybe the likes of you and Hamas and Israel are all invited with some other regional and global powers? Is that in the making?
Well, I don't think that's on the making. I think what will happen in Cairo is that there will be Palestinian dialogue, because it is so important for us to relaunch a Palestinian dialogue, so that we all reach to an understanding, to a situation in which nobody goes to war alone and nobody goes to peace alone. We have to be united in order for us to achieve our goals, and in order for us to really be able to take things to a different direction and take things forward.
So how are you going to break through this silence that is currently in play with Hamas? They are your peers, they are your neighbors, but you are still so far apart. What are you going to bring to Cairo that could help bridge that painful gap as far as the Palestinians are concerned?
Well, I mean, we were intending to have elections, and we did also sign 4 different agreements with Hamas, and we were hoping that a national unity will be achieved through agreement. Unfortunately, it didn't work. And then we tried to do it through the election door. Israel did block our intention to have elections in Jerusalem, and therefore we were not being able to do it. We did postpone it. We did not cancel it. But now, having said that, and that agreements was reached and not implemented, and the election is not there anymore, I think we need to restart negotiations and talks with Hamas to really come to an understanding on basic issues. We said, our president has explicitly said that he is ready for a national unity government, and Hamas is welcome to join the government if Hamas really accepts the political platform.
Sure. So
and so on.
Do you feel that there is a chance of a breakthrough then in the coming weeks with Hamas, of course, under the broader sponsorship and oversight of Egypt and some other powers, perhaps?
Yes, I think Qatar and Egypt and Qatar are really doing good job on this issue. And our channels of communication with Hamas never stopped. Hamas they are not our enemies, they are our political rivals. But we are all in one boat when it comes to challenges that Palestinian cause is facing, and that we are all under either siege or occupation. And therefore, I think Palestinian unity is a must, and we will do every effort to make this happen.
Did the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken signal in any way that the U.S. would be willing to take an active role to try and resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? What are some of the signals that you've been getting?
Well, I think the visit of the Secretary was very important to us. He did declare, he did announce quite a number of steps that the United States will be taking. In particular, I refer to the reopening of the American consulate that deals with the Palestinians. For us, the issue of the American consulate in Jerusalem is this is a nuclear for a future American embassy to Palestine. That is the real value of this issue. But also, United States did recognize the fact that there isn't yet any political initiative on the table. And also we agreed with them that this political vacuum should not continue to be. I think we need a political initiative to fill the vacuum. And there is already the Arab Peace Initiative that unfortunately nobody is taking serious. But by all means, we, Europe, the Arabs, United States, we all do recognize the fact that there is a political vacuum and there has to be a political initiative to fill that vacuum, and that we move from peace diplomacy to peace process, but a peace process that is based on international legitimacy, United Nations resolutions,
sure,
the auspices of the Quartet, and the United States is a very important player with the Quartet members.
I mean, I want to get to the shifting relationship that the U.S. administration is bringing to the table vis-a-vis Palestine, vis-a-vis the Palestinian Authority specifically. They've pledged a level of relief. Some would argue that is still far from insubstantial in terms of bringing this whole issue to some form of closure. What kind of reassurances did Mr. Blinken look for, though, that will be tied to those aid pledges?
Well, look, I mean, American aid to Palestine used to be very important. And now that the United States is re-engaging again with us, the package of assistance that has been announced, it does not go to the Palestinian Authority directly. It goes to United Nations Relief and Work Agency, UNRWA, $150 million, which is very important for us. And we were all the time hoping that the United States will refund UNRWA. And also, some of the money goes through non-governmental organizations. The problem is that United States is also working on some laws and regulations that has been passed in the American Congress against us. There is the ATA law, there is ATCA, there is ATCA fix, there is the Taylor Force, quite a number of laws that has been passed under the Trump administration, which were all designed to be against us and against funding us and so on. Now, the Biden administration, we are hoping that President Biden will issue a presidential proclamation in which he says that, PLO and Palestine Authority are partners for peace and not a terrorist organization.
What about some other issues? Because we understand that what could have come up is the prosecution of Israel with the International Criminal Court. It's something that Palestine's pursued as a file. Did the U.S. Secretary of State try to dissuade you, try to talk you away from that?
Well, look, my dear friend, ICC is not a Palestinian invention. ICC is a peaceful international court for criminals, and we found it there, and we decided to join. The issue for us is not, we're not enjoying being at ICC. The issue for us is that we are under attack, we are under aggression, and criminal acts has been really conducted against us or committed against our people. Whether the issue of settlements, the destruction of Gaza 2014 and now 21, and so on and so forth. So the issue of ICC is something that's now totally out of our hands. It's just in the hands of the ICC. Of course, we did join it and we did submit files. The Israelis should know, and they should take us serious. And the Israelis should know that they are causing a lot of pain to the Palestinian people. And Israel should stop settlements. Israel should stop atrocities and aggression against our people. If they want to settle these things in a peaceful way. It's not our invention, ICC. We are there just to say that we are victims.
Is there any other country that's pledged aid outside of Egypt and Qatar, sort of within the Arab world?
Yes, I will be visiting Kuwait next week, and Oman and Qatar, and hopefully Saudi Arabia. And Arab countries are now back to track. Egypt has committed, $500 million. Qatar has committed another $500 million for the reconstruction of Gaza. I am sure other Arab countries will do the same. So now that Arab aid is back to track as well, at the same time that United States aid is back to track, I think we will be in a better situation, whether when it comes to our GDP growth. In 2020, our GDP growth actually declined by 11.5%, and now our expectation and the World Bank that GDP growth will be between 6 and 8%. Well, I think this will be attributed to our effort to fight Corona on one hand and international aid on the other.
Closing question on the Abraham Accords. That's seen quite a bit of a pushback among different populations across the Arab world. Did you use the opportunity to press on the U.S. administration that you are pretty much against any expansion in those Abraham Accords?
Well, look, our position is very clear, my dear friend. Abraham Accords, they were born dead, really. I don't think that anybody is taking it serious. Simply because, the main partner for this was President Trump and his administration, and they are not there anymore. The issue for us is that these accords of normalization relationship between Arab countries and Israel, it's a violation of Arab League resolutions. The issue has not only to do with us, but the issue has to do with all Arab countries as well. And it actually gave Israel a prize for paying no price whatsoever. That is a very unfortunate situation in which the Israelis didn't really pay anything in return of this sort of normalization of Arab relationship with Israel. So that's where we stand on it. And I think we made it very clear that the most important part of the story now, I think this Abraham Fund, there was the idea of this Abraham Fund. I think this idea is dead now. Nobody is talking about Abraham Fund.
Okay.
Because also, frankly, that was designed to give legitimacy to Jewish settlements in the Palestinian territory. That is what Trump was hoping to see. And unfortunately, some Arab countries, they did fall victims to that idea.